Don't run, Chris!
Chris runs for it. Tracie yells at Chris.
Give it back, Chris!
Then Tracie and Stanley had to run for their lives. The dragon released his fire. As the sun peaks over Albanian's mountains, the investigators of the Great District Agency embarked on a disturbing journey to unravel the mystery shrouding Europe's mountains. Their mission is to investigate the gruesome reality of multiple people being consumed by flames, leaving behind nothing but charred bones and ash. At the time of each incident, witnesses said they saw a large bird flying near the Albanian Alps. A few months before the terror began, there were reports that an opening to a cave appeared in the mountain, and there are rumors of gold treasures in the caves. Stanley, Tracie, and Chris are on their way to the location. Chris asked Stanley,
Stanley, are we heading over there? Yeah, Chris. The cave is just on the other side of those mountains.
They arrived at the mouth of the cave. An unnatural quiet hangs heavy in the air, broken only by the occasional drip of unseen water echoing from within. The team ventured into the cave. Inside is a stale smell of smoke, sulfur, and pumice that stings your nostrils. It's a smell that also speaks of something else, something primal and unsettling. A bat flies over their heads, and Chris and Tracie scream. Tracie says,
Oh, Lord, I don't do bats, Stanley. Tracie, don't worry. They're not going to mess with us unless they have rabies. Keep playing. I'll leave y'all right in here by yourselves.
Chris said,
You telling me out of all the creatures we investigated, and you're scared of a bat, Tracie? Yeah, and you're scared too. By the way, you're scared of everything, Chris. At least I'm consistent, Tracie. Well, you're right about that, Chris.
Stanley said,
All right, y'all. There are multiple tunnels in this cave. Let's start out by going this way.
The team walked over to another area of the cave. They came upon a cavern that appears to have a large opening that led to another world inside the mountain. A deep, menacing growl vibrated out the shadows. Chris immediately started shaking uncontrollably. Stanley and Tracie were also frightened by the growl. They looked around, confused, and didn't know where the sound came from. Tracie said,
That sounds like it's something huge.
A loud roar sounded like it was right next to them. They screamed and ran. Somehow they ended up separated in caverns among the cave system. Stanley called out to Tracie and Chris, and they did the same.
Tracie! Chris! Where are you? Stanley! Chris! Stanley! Chris! Stanley! Tracie!
Stanley asked Claire, the Great District Agency's AI, for more information about this creature. Claire said,
According to what you described, it's possibly a red dragon. When dragons are in the presence of gold, it amplifies their mythical prowess. It is said that dragons consume gold to maintain their vitality and magical abilities, making it an essential part of their existence. Gold helps to break down the shell of dragon eggs so they can hatch. Dragons also sleep on gold and jewels, and their weight embeds them in their skin to provide additional armor. Losing even one coin or tiny trinket could cause a red dragon to fly into a rage and hunt down and mercilessly destroy the supposed thief. If they could not, then they would rampage across the land, slaughtering all they encountered and devastating local settlements where a thief might hide. Red dragons also gain an array of magical powers as they age.
Over where Chris is at, Chris notices something out the corner of his eye. It's shining. As he looks, he realizes it's a pile of gold treasure. But the fascination of the gold is instantly stopped by terror. Behind the glittering treasure, a monstrous nest sprawled, dwarfing a small house with something sitting in the center of the nest. Chris' throat constricted. Those weren't rocks. They were enormous, scaly eggs. Over where Tracie's at, Tracie hears something moving. She quickly hides behind a boulder. She looks left and right, kneeling behind the rock, as the sound gets closer and closer. Tracie screamed. It was Stanley, and he said,
What are you doing, Tracie? I thought you were some animal, Stanley. Nah, but I didn't mean to scare you, Tracie. Is Chris with you? No, I was thinking y'all was right behind me. Tracie, Claire think it's a dragon. Huh? A dragon? Yeah, we have to go find Chris before it does.
Tracie and Stanley went looking for Chris. Chris came running by them, screaming, and Stanley and Tracie didn't ask any questions and started running right along with Chris. They made it to a cavern. Stanley asked Chris,
Why were you running, Chris? A spider was crawling on me. Really? A spider, Chris? Yeah, it could have bitten me. But anyway, I found some gold coins and a huge bird nest about the size of a house.
Stanley said.
It's not a bird's nest. Claire think it's a dragon, Chris. A dragon?
Chris takes them to see what he had found.
See, look. Wow.
Unknown to the agents, the dragon was watching them and hidden from their view. The dragon said, I smell soon-to-be-burnt humans. Do you also come here to steal my gold, Stanley?
No. Where are you? And how do you know my name?
I've been watching and listening to all of you. Tracie asked,
Are you saying everyone that you burnt up was trying to steal your gold?
No, Tracie. They also tried to steal my eggs.
Stanley, Chris, I think we should leave and quarantine this mountain and label it as a gray area so no one tries to steal its eggs and gold again.
You cannot leave. It's time for you to burn.
Why?
The one you call Chris has stolen from me. Tracie and Stanley looked at Chris. Chris takes a gold coin out of his pocket. Then the dragon steps into view. Stanley said,
Don't run, Chris.
Chris runs for it. Tracie yells at Chris.
Give it back, Chris.
Then Tracie and Stanley had to run for their lives. The dragon released his fire to burn them. They could feel the searing heat of his fiery breath scorching the air around them. They escaped from the dragon. Stanley said,
Chris, why did you take the coin? Then why you didn't give it back? You're going to get us all burnt up, man.
I don't know why I did that, Stanley.
Well, Chris, you put us in a heated situation. And you know what I mean by heated.
The dragon is standing next to them and about to fry them right where they stand when Tracie said,
Wait! He will give it back right now! Give it back, Chris! Okay.
Chris lays the coin on the ground.
Here's your coins back.
The team makes a break for it and runs to the mobile lab. Stanley is on the phone with the general counsel at the GDA's headquarters, asking them how should they proceed with the case, since the dragon was only protecting his eggs and gold. Stanley said,
Well, y'all, the council said we have to capture it.
Tracie said,
What? It wasn't the dragon's fault. I know, Tracie, but it's our orders. I need you on board with this. We will need your powers to help catch it. I'm on board, but dragons are magical beings. They can block my spells. I'm not sure if it will work, Stanley. We're going to bring our weapons with us, just in case.
The agents went back to the entrance of the cave. Stanley said,
I have an idea. We will have to stun it with our laser weapons to weaken it. Then, Tracie, we will need you to work your magic to contain it. But first, we need Sticky Finger Chris to steal another coin and lure it out of the cave so we have more room to catch it. Man, I'm never going to hear the end of that. And of course, I'm bait again. Thanks, Stanley. You're welcome, Chris. After you get the dragon outside the cave, Tracie and I will take it from there, Chris.
Huh? Y'all not coming with me?
No, Chris. We have to get ready out here. We got to catch this thing.
Chris went into the cave. He's trying to remember where the gold is. He's walking from one section to the next. Chris finds the gold, but the dragon is there. So Chris hid behind some rocks and waited for the dragon to leave. The red dragon slowly walked away. Chris went for it. As soon as he grabbed the coin, the dragon came after him, and Chris ran. He made it outside, screaming. Stanley and Tracie was ready, but the dragon wasn't behind Chris. Then the dragon came out of nowhere and grabbed Chris. Stanley and Tracie started shooting at it, but they missed, and it flew away with Chris. Now they're worried. What will happen to Chris? Tracie said,
Let's go back inside. There must be another entrance where the dragon has taken Chris. Yeah, you're right. Come on, let's go.
Tracie and Stanley ventured back into the cave. They made it to the dragon's nest, but they didn't see any signs of Chris or the dragon. They heard a sneeze. Then they seen Chris poking his head up out of the dragon's nest. Chris said,
We need to hurry up. It will be back soon.
Stanley said,
Chris, get out of the nest. We're going to go ahead with the plan right here. Let's hide, and I'll let everyone know when to stun the dragon. Then, Tracie, you work your magic.
They hid behind the boulders. Stanley said,
It's back. Get ready.
The dragon noticed Chris was missing. Where are you? I can smell you, Chris. And I smell that you're not alone. Stanley yelled,
Stun it! Stun it now!
The dragon went limp, and Tracie started her spell.
Sutabuna Makanash,
Tracie is fighting and fighting, trying to hold it. Then she said her final spell. Then Stanley attempts to stun it again. They did it.